Namaste. Welcome to the 22nd video in the overall series and introduction to Sanatana Dharma. Today we talk about the goals or ideals of life. Why do I have Shri Chakra as a background? A Shri Chakra is said to be one of the ways by which the goals of life can be obtained. Uh, a note of caution, the Shri Chakra is a yantra, uh, arguably the most powerful of the yantras. So any yantra or a mantra for that matter should not be invoked, should not be used without proper initiation or taking diksha from a proper guru. Please don't buy yantras from the market. Please don't keep them in your house. Some people even put them in the place of worship. Please don't do this. This is just an example. I wanted to show that proper usage of mantras and for example the Sri Chakra is said to be one of the ways by which people attain the ideals or the goals of life. That is the reason why I have this particular virtual background. Be extremely cautious when you have any dealings with any kind of yantra or mantra for that matter. Coming to the uh, say the thumbnail of the video is also similar that we do puja. So there is a certain sankalpam which comes in the puja which talks about the four goals of life. That is the reason the thumbnail image has been so chosen, that there is a sankalpam which is recited as part of any typical puja. That's the reason I chose that thumbnail. Let's get into the video. Those of you who have paid some attention when there was a puja or a vratam or a yajnam being conducted would have heard a phrase. So there's something called a sankalpam which is done at the beginning of a puja, which basically says why we are doing that particular ritual. So a very commonly heard phrase is this: Chaturvidha Purushartha Phala Siddhyartham. Chaturvidha Purushartha Phala Siddhyartham. Uh, now, basically, what this means is Chaturvidha has four types. Purushartha phala is the result. Purushartha is basically the goal of life. Purusha, as we had discussed a little while back also, does not refer to a man, but rather to mankind or human beings. So this statement basically means I am doing this puja, vartam, ritual, yajna, whatever it is, to attain the results, which are the four purusharthas of life. Okay. Now, what are these purusharthas of life? We'll discuss today. As is the say concept for a lot of other things, the goals of life are actually universal. These have been provided to us by Sanatana Dharma. Now, there are four, obviously Chaturvedha: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Now, Artha and Kama are basically in the middle. However, these are things which all of us are extremely familiar with. So let me start with the two in the middle, Artha and Kama. These are two items which nobody needs to be taught about. These are kind of, I think, hardwired into us in various ways. Artha basically has to do with wealth, any kind of wealth, the accumulation of wealth. Kama is basically desire, any kind of desire re- uh, related to the senses, any of the senses that we have. So basically, Artha is any kind of wealth. Kama is any kind of desire. So indulging in the desire of, I mean, desire of any kind falls under the subset of Kama. Artha is basically accrual of wealth, any form of wealth. Now, very important point to note here. This is an example of how Hinduism in no way negates worldly pleasures. It is not that you renounce the world, abstain from the world. It doesn't say that. It says enjoy life to the fullest. There are certain boundaries that are defined for that. That is the tricky part. In general, nothing to do with Hinduism itself. So, if this boundary does not exist, and if life is only about Artha and Kama, we can get into what you're seeing at the bottom. This is a shloka that is associated with the Charvaka school of philosophy in Hinduism. In fact, I don't know whether it should be called a part of Hinduism. However, okay, let's say the ancient Indian school of Charvaka philosophy, the sloka that you're seeing at the bottom is from that. It says, Yavat jivet sukham jivet ranam kritva ghritam pibet. Basically, what it means, the PM once spoke about this in the parliament. as long as you are aware, yavat jivet, sukham jivet, live comfortably. Ranam kritva, run, a loan, take a loan, ghatam pibet, ghee. Earlier, now is obviously expensive, right? That too, if we talk about the A2 desi cow ghee, organic, extremely expensive. So basically, what it says is live comfortably for as long as you're alive. If required, take a loan, drink ghee, enjoy life. Consequences, if nobody believes in an afterlife, that there are no consequences, there is no incentive, technically speaking, to be righteous, moral, good, so on and so forth. So the only point here is artha and kama are two purusharthas which all of us are very familiar with. uh, Restricting ourselves to only those two is obviously dangerous. So Hinduism says that whatever artha we use to indulge in kama should be circumscribed by dharma. Now, dharma is a Sanskrit term which does not have a direct translation into English, or for that matter, possibly another language. So, this is something that most, if not all of us, don't keep in mind. That whenever we use artha to indulge in kama, we forget about dharma, and that therein lies the catch, right? So there's a very famous saying, right? Wrongly attributed to Einstein, by the way. Anything I like is either illegal or immoral or fattening, right? That's the thing about artha and kama. So all Hinduism says is that is the reason dharma is the first. Says dharma, artha, kama will come to moksha. So it basically says that when you use artha, wealth, to indulge in kama, your desires, to experience or satiate your desires, just ensure that they are in line with dharma. Obviously, not a simple thing to do. Not as easy as preaching like this, extremely difficult. I think, in fact, there is a statement somewhere, shloka, which says that following the path of dharma is like walking on the edge of a sword. Okay, it's not easy. So, very crudely put, dharma is about morality, righteousness, duty. It is a catch-all phrase. Actually, it encompasses a lot of these things. Now, for example, let's take myself. I have multiple dharmas. For example, as a husband, I have a pati dharma. As a son, I have a putra dharma. As a father, I have a pitra dharma. Uh, as a, as an employee of a company, I have udyoga dharma. So dharma is not necessarily just one aspect. It is something which encompasses each and every walk of my life. Dharma basically consists of two things. One is something called vihita karma, which is basically action or things that we should be doing. And there is also something called nishiddha karma, basically things that we should be desisting from doing. Okay. Again, as I said, not simple. Uh, just speaking about stuff like this does not mean that somebody is an expert or actually does this. As I said, right, walking on the side of a blade, not simple. Reason why, let me kind of validate this particular statement of mine. So the Svargarohana Parva, I believe, is the last Parva, the 18th Parva of the Parva of the Mahabharata. So there is a shloka there which Vyasa says. So he says, Urdhvabahu Viraumyesha Nacha Kaschit Shrunoti me Dharmat Arthascha Kamascha Sakimartham na Sevyate. So from his point of view, uh, he's confused that Urdhavahu Viraumyesha. Basically, I am shouting, my arms are outstretched like this, and I am shouting at the top of my voice. Nacha kaschit shrunoti me. Nobody listens to me. Dharmat arthascha kamascha. Dharmat arthaha cha kamaha cha. From dharma should come artha and kama. Sa kimartham na sevyate. Why don't people follow dharma? So it is not uh, such a simple thing to follow, obviously. However, the point to remember is that in the sequence of activities, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, the first is dharma, and that should, to the extent, ideally actually, or in our world, to the extent possible, to ideally 100%, or again, to whatever extent possible, take primacy. Now, we come to moksha. Moksha is different from heaven or hell. So Hinduism does have the concept of heaven, it has the concept of hell, it has those concepts. However, unlike Abrahamic faiths, heaven and hell are not end goals, they are just points in the ultimate destination. In fact, they are possibly diversions from the ultimate path to moksha. So Hinduism does not believe or talk about a permanent heaven or a permanent hell. It's probably a little unfair. So it says the ultimate aim of human life, the paramartha of human life, is actually to attain moksha, mukti, or liberation. I don't like the term salvation. It is to attain moksha or mukti, which basically means liberation. Now, liberation from what? Samsara. Samsara as a phrase is derived, the etymology is samyak sarati iti samsara, if I remember correctly, that which moves properly in a proper fashion. So it is something that is always in motion, dynamic. Birth, growth, death, rebirth, growth, death. So that is an endless cycle which is there, or the cycle, endless cycle of samsara, where beings are born, grow, die, like that, right? So mukti or moksha is basically from this cycle of rebirths into the samsara or creation, so to say. Now, there are different kinds of mokshas. Uh, Possibly in later videos, I will try to talk a little more about, say, a dharma or a moksha. However, there are four kinds of moksha. If I remember correctly, Salokya, Sarupya, Samipya, Sayujya. I'll try to deal with these in a later video. However, Hinduism says there are four kinds of moksha: Salokya, Sarupya, Samipya, Sarupya, and Sayujya. Okay, just for academic interest sake for now. And also an important point, moksha is not necessarily something, like for example, right? I think in one of his speeches, Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev says that one thing a lot of people don't realize is if they want to go to heaven or hell, they should be first ready to die, right? So if somebody is not ready to die, he or she will not go to heaven or hell. Mukti or moksha is not something that people get only after dying. It is basically a state of liberation which should be achieved while alive. Okay, there is also a concept of krama mukti and all. We are not getting into that right now. However, the basic idea is that that state of realization, that state of liberation, is something that can be attained while being alive and not necessarily after death only. This is a shloka from, obviously not in one line. This is a shloka taken from the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna Paramatma says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevah Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabhaha. Basically, what it means is Bahunam Janmanam Ante. In fact, in the autobiography of a yogi by Paramahamsa Yogananda, he mentions this, that only at the end of many lives, Bahunam Janmanamante, multitude, infinity of lives, does a being kind of say, okay, I'm tired. Now I want liberation from this samsara. Right? So Bahunam Janmanam Ante, Jnanavan, he who has that knowledge of liberation, Mam Prapadyate, kind of surrenders to me. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Everything is Vasudeva. There is nothing but Vasudeva, another epithet of Krishna. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. That great being is extremely difficult to find. So, Artha and Kama are practiced or at least desired by literally all living beings. It is not just about a human being. Kama and maybe Artha to an extent are practiced by all living beings. Only a human being, in fact, animals to an extent have their own dharma, Jantu dharma, let's say, where it simply says, let's take a lion for example, it hunts when it is hungry, eats, and then sits peacefully. You may have seen wildlife videos where animals are happily frolicking around a lion or a tiger because they know that, okay, this being has eaten now, it will not do anything at least for some more time. It is only human beings that have this unsatiable greed for everything, right? It is only us who have, it is only we who have this unsatiable greed. Okay, it's a bottomless pit. So dharma is something that human beings can understand. Moksha, again, if you leave out one or two stories and one or two kshetras, places, mukti again is something that is attainable only by human beings. One reason why the human life is considered to be the most or the highest, the superior among all living beings. So it basically says that at the end of many lives, the one with correct knowledge, the liberated person or one who wishes liberation, basically surrenders to the Lord. And he says there is nothing but Ishvara, there is nothing but Vasudeva. So it is, as I said, all living beings understand the Kama, Some may understand Artha. There are very few who follow Dharma. Then, so the Dharmatmas in human beings are very few. And out of those Dharmatmas, even the intent to attain moksha or mukti, they are called mumukshus. People who want to attain mukti are called mumukshus. Mumukshu, that's the singular. They are very few. And out of those who actually attain mukti are even fewer. That is the reason Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, let me just end with that roller coaster thing. Basically, imagine, so we said, right, samyak sarati iti samsaraha, that which keeps continuously moving in a specific orderly manner. Think of samsara as a roller coaster. We are all living beings who are the passengers of this roller coaster. Think of the various cars in the roller coaster as various wombs, as various living beings, basic bodies rather, let's say, bodies, roles, whatever you wish to call that. A living being, a soul, an atma, a jivatma, basically is always in this roller, is in this never-ending roller coaster ride. God only knows when it started. When I meet my maker, I'll probably ask him. I don't have an answer about when this started. When I get to meet my maker, I'll ask him when this started and how this started. However, in this never-ending roller coaster ride, the passenger is only jumping from one car to the other. Okay, but he or she is not realizing that, okay, this ride is not ending. That way, living beings move between bodies in various births in this endless or this cycle called samsara. At a point of time, the passenger decides, okay, I've had enough of this ride. I want to get off. I want to get down. That person in samsara is called a mukshu, who's kind of decided, okay, that I've seen enough of the magic show. Now I want to see the magician and I want to just enjoy the magic show. I don't want to become frightened by that magic show or get immersed in that magic show. I want to enjoy the magic show without being overwhelmed by it. I want to see the magician behind the magic show. That way, the passenger decides that, okay, I've had enough. I need to get off this roller coaster. That basically getting off of the roller coaster is attaining moksha or mukti. Let me end this video at this particular juncture. I will try to elaborate upon the concepts of maybe dharma or moksha in later videos. COVID cases seem to be increasing again. Please stay safe. Let all of us be careful so that the country and the world recover quickly. Namaste. Thank you very much.